please send me, Caroline Williams, a direct message, and I will make sure to get your status changed. Additionally, if you have not already, please change your name to include your affiliation.
You have a mask off? You can take your mask off.
Hi, before we get started, is there anybody else who still needs record permission? I believe I've got everybody, but just in case, please shoot a direct message to Jenny Johnston if that's the case. We're going to go ahead and start, and thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Sue, for coming down. Can you hear me okay?
Me? Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to start off with Sue Bird here today, and then we will have Diana Taurasi join us, and then end up with that.
Don't admit them? No, we'll worry about it. Okay, because it comes up. Okay. I mean, I don't care.
Don't worry about it. We got it. Anyway, as you know, everybody here knows Sue Bird is a 4-time Olympic gold medalist, 4-time World Cup gold medalist. And since we're here in San Antonio at the Final Four, I'd be remiss to not mention her 3 Final Fours, 2 championships, one of which came in 2002 here in San Antonio. So if you have any questions, I would ask you to raise your hand in the reactions area, and I'm going to start off today with Alex Azzi with NBC.
Great, thanks so much, and thanks, Sue, for taking the time.
No problem.
I guess just first off, could you give us a sense of what playing basketball has looked like for you since the end of the WNBA season? Like, you know, how often are you getting on the court or weight room, or what does that look like?
Yeah. So I've been lucky, maybe. I definitely have gym access. So I've been able to get on the court. I have a weight room, I have a Peloton, all the things that I need. I've been very lucky and fortunate to either know enough people that have those things for me, or I've been able to access them myself. The hard part, as far as basketball goes, is playing against people. So that I haven't been able to do. So this camp is really the first time I think I've had anybody like come near me or touch me in like a basketball setting. So that part is the interesting part. But to be honest, that was also the case leading into the WNBA season last year. And you just figure it out. You know, it is what it is. It's the times we're in, and you just have to figure it out.
Great, thanks so much.
And next we have Hayley Mcgoldrick with Fiba.
Hi, Sue. So obviously you're a vet on this team and you've fostered a winning culture no matter where you go. So with this team that you've had to go through a lot and the games be postponing, how are you as a leader on the team fostering that culture to make sure that you come out of Tokyo with the gold?
You know, even though the games have been postponed a year, I don't feel like it changed who we are, what our mindset is, what we're trying to accomplish. It just got put on pause button. And, you know, if anything, the hard part was basically what I touched on before, which was as an individual trying to make sure you're staying on top of your game, staying in good health. In some ways, I think as Americans, we're lucky to have the WNBA. That's going to get us in tip-top shape. And as far as the USA team goes with chemistry, we're used to this. We're used to, like I said, it got paused a year, but we're used to only being able to get together every so often, trying to make the most out of a 3-4 day training camp, putting our individual needs or wants aside for the greater good of the team. That's what USA basketball has always been about. So this isn't, I don't think this has been a test for our culture. If anything, it's just reinforced it.
And next up, we've got Pepper Pursley and Howard Mcdonald on deck.
What's up, Pepper?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
All right. Well, it's so great to talk with you again. Having been able to win 4 gold medals, what has been the most memorable Olympic game you've played in? And then another question after that.
Okay. Most memorable. I guess they say you never forget your first. So I think, Athens will probably always have a special place. But the truth is, it's, we've obviously been lucky in a way to always come home with a gold medal, always come home with a good taste in our mouth. So a lot of my memories have nothing to do with basketball. It's a lot of the time we get to spend off the court with our teammates, with our families. That's where a lot of my memories live. And that's what I'll take with me from all the games, to be honest. But like I said, you never forget your first.
And I've got to ask, what are your thoughts on last night's UConn-Baylor game?
Oh, here we go. Pepper coming in hot. I thought it was a great game. Like, truly, I think there's going to be people. Well, first of all, I'll just give my bias answer, which is I'm super happy UConn won. I'm super happy they're back in the Final Four. I'm very excited for that team. I think it's been a unique journey for that team and for Coach Ram and his staff specifically. So that's just as an alum, super exciting. And, there's going to be people that are going to answer this question saying there was no foul. There's going to be people that answer this question saying it was definitely a foul. My take on it, everybody's talking about it, and that's what matters. I turned on First Take this morning and they were debating it. You go on Twitter, everybody has an opinion. And I think that having storylines and conversations surrounding women's basketball, even if it's a little controversial, even if it gets a little heated, that's good for the growth of the game. So I'm excited to see that. And you know what? If there's no call, there's no foul, right?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Howard, you're up next, and Carl Adamick is on deck.
Appreciate it. Sue, thanks for the time as always. Basketball commentator Diana Taurasi recently said that Paige Bueckers is the best player in basketball. Paige, of course, is talking about the many ways in which she wants to get better. Just as somebody seeing her, I'm wondering what you see as the next step and whether you agree with what Diana had to say.
The next step for Paige, listen, you watch Paige play and she's incredibly skilled. There's really not much she doesn't do well on the court. So for her, it's just going to be about, continuing to perfect those things, right? I think as a basketball player, you just always want to be great at the things you're good at. You want to just keep improving, keep getting better. I don't think there's one thing. I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, she needs to work on her ball handling, or no, there isn't. For her, it's just always going to be about, she's going to be the hunted. I think for the remainder of her career, and kudos to her because she's put herself on that pedestal, everyone's going to want to take her down, and that is where the challenge will lie. As far as what Dee said, I feel like, one thing I really didn't know is, was Dee talking about college?
This is a good question.
I feel like she was. I feel like she was. That's all I'm going to say. But you know what? You asked Dee, and then I'll answer this question if I agree.
I will. And if I could just follow up on this as it relates to both Paige and Caitlin, who you've talked about as just, obviously a must see. These are two players who clearly, if they were able to be one and done, would be high draft picks, would, be able to come in and contribute to the league right away. Do you think there is do you think we should move toward a one and done rule for the women's game? Do you see any downside to it? I'm just curious what your thoughts are on it.
Yeah. It's funny because this has come up now a couple of times in the last 48 or so hours. And it is something that we discussed in our CBA negotiations. And the truth is, sometimes in CBA talks, you know, when there's so much that needs to be addressed or fixed, you don't get to everything. And sadly, that was one thing that just as negotiations go, if anyone's been involved in a negotiation, they know. Sometimes you got to have a priority list. But I wouldn't be surprised if moving forward, that conversation continues. Like I said, it's already started in our last CBA. So I wouldn't be surprised if it continues. And I think the beauty is there's a reason why we're talking about it now, because these players are showing their talent. They're showing how good they are. I have zero doubt that those players would get picked high. And it's not, and it's funny because I think people, I believe, you know, I said it, I think it was a conversation even a couple months ago about would Paige go number one? Yeah, she would, because draft picks are investments. And I think a lot of times in the WNBA, we look at draft picks who can help us now. And, you know, to kind of touch on your last question, to be honest, obviously Paige has to like mature and, you know, she's only a kid. She's like 19, right? So she's going to mature. She's going to get stronger. She's only going to get better when that happens. But draft picks to me are investments. And there's no doubt in my mind that people would want to invest in a player like Paige right now in this year's draft. And that's why I said I think she'd be the number one pick.
Thanks.
All right, Carl Adamek, and then we've got Alexa Philip. Sorry, Alexa, I'm butchering your name. Go ahead,
How
Carl.
you doing, Sue?
Good. How are you?
Good. From a personal perspective, what do you try to get out of a camp like this? And has your approach to camps changed over the years?
Definitely hasn't changed. You know, I think what I love about these camps is it really gives you like a goal. So I didn't participate in February camp for just personal COVID stuff. Just felt a little too soon. But coming into this camp, I had this goal date. And I feel like all the USA basketball camps that happen in our quote unquote off season, it's this date that I get to, you know, get myself ready for. So that's the beauty, I think, for me as an individual when it comes to these camps. And what I really look for to get out of them is just to be around everybody. You know, like the truth is, I don't think we come here to, run, like, let me think about how I want to phrase this. I don't think we come here to, get in shape. We don't come in here to, get up as many shots as we can. It's not about your individual game. It's literally just about chemistry. It's about being around everyone, both on and off the court, having an understanding, getting to know each other, again, as people and as players, getting to know Dawn, getting to know her system. It's like all those little things that usually take a lot of time. That's what we need to cram, I guess, into these camps and really make a concerted effort to focus on. That's how I approach it. So just try to come in here, be really vocal, try to help as much as I can as a vet. And, because the basketball part, the shooting and the dribbling and the running, that'll take care of itself. We got to start building our chemistry in these camps.
Thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Alexa, go ahead.
So do you think Paige was the best player in basketball or college basketball? The people want to know. Basketball or college basketball? What did you mean?
So for the bozos at that,
It's the camera's right.
I meant basketball,
You meant
college basketball.
That's
Come
what I
on,
thought.
people.
That's what I
Like-
thought. So there you go.
Come on.
There you go, Howard.
Very
Come
helpful.
on.
Yeah, she's the best player in college.
In
Very
college
good.
I agree with the statement.
Come on.
Would you pick her number one right now?
Everyone pick your number one right now.
I feel like every WNBA team would, if they could, would somehow trade to get whoever's 2024 pick right now if they could.
And Caitlin would be number two, hands down. Like those would be the top two players coming out of college.
Investments. Next question.
Next question. Alexa, go ahead, and then Doug Feiberg, you're on deck.
Hey, Stu. Thanks for taking the time. I wanted to ask you, obviously, I know you have the UConn connections. You're excited for them to be in the Final Four, but also with Adia making, the school making their first Final Four, Adia getting back to the Sweet 16 after being a player, and just from your relationship with her over the years, what have you seen from her and what she's been able to do as a coach at Arizona and just bring the program to new heights that she even surpassed from when she was a player there?
Yeah, I couldn't be more happy for Adia. I couldn't be more happy for Adia. The minute she got that job, I knew, it's like you just knew she was gonna have success because that's her personality. If you're around Adia for 5 seconds, she's got charisma. She makes you feel like you've known her forever. And I think as a recruiter, as somebody who, when you're building a program, trying to get the community involved, those are things that you can't teach. You either have them or you don't. And Adia has them. So to see it, you know, how long has she been there? 4 or 5 years. To see it like turn the corner so fast, I think she's even surprised. And I think for all of us watching are just so proud of her. So proud of her. I mean, you can see it. It's really fun to watch someone get to the Final Four for the first time. At the same time, it's actually fun to watch a program get to its 13th Final Four? Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun watching that too. So it's kind of a fun story. You've got a first timer and then someone, you know, who's been there a million times.
If I could just quickly follow up, what do you think about Hayley Mcdonald and just what she's been able to do so far this season?
Yeah, I mean, she's done everything. You know, she's literally done everything for them. And I think she plays with so much heart. Obviously, her quickness is, you know, her biggest asset. Just her ability to go anywhere at any time, at any point, all over the court, get to her shot, create for her teammates. Her kind of game, I think, translates to the WNBA well. So it'll be fun to watch her go against Connecticut. See what play with. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
No problem.
Doug, you're up. And then next we'll have Erica Ayala.
Hey guys, Doug Feiberg, DAP. Good to see you. The first one for both of you is obviously this Olympics is gonna be different with the COVID stuff, and we hope it gets better a lot, but realistic prize not. You guys normally are sort of isolated to begin with, right? The men and the women are on a boat or in a hotel. Do you think, I mean, is life as normal, so to speak, for you guys that you already were not in the Olympic Village? So you're sort of going to be similar to what has been in the past, that you're in your own area and your own bubble, so to speak?
So you're right that we're separate, but the big difference for us is the family and friends part. So that's where in our Olympic experiences, we're very lucky. We get to share that with our family and friends directly. Mm-hmm. They're either staying with us, you know, in the hotels we're in, or, you know, in Rio, they were literally on the boat right next door. So you got to, you know, see them, well, at games, obviously, but after the games, maybe you have lunch, maybe, you know, whatever, you go see a site, who knows? So you really got to spend time. That's where the Olympics is really different for us. So in some ways, this Olympics will be probably more similar or familiar for other athletes and really different for us. And I'm kind of looking forward to it. It might be nice.
You know, family could be a pain in the ass sometimes, so it's not the worst thing.
The second question, sort of piggyback on Howard's asking about with players potentially going out early, the one and dones and such. Equity has been an issue, obviously, in these two tournaments, and the men can go out one and done, the women can't. And you were obviously, Sue, on the council, and Dee, I'm guessing you might have gone early if you could have years ago. Just what's the thought of potentially having this change down the road that players could have at least have the choice, whether they go or not, there is their choice, but have that choice to potentially come out of college after their freshman year as opposed to waiting until they were juniors?
Yeah. I mean, I don't really like to compare it to the men. You know, the men are dealing to this day with their own issues in terms of like draft eligibility, right? They're trying to get rid of the one and dones who don't want it. The one and done's really only been around since, like, I don't know, 2000 whatever, 5 or 6. So they're obviously still dealing with it. It's a fluid thing. So I think that'll be the case for us. Like I said, it did come up in the last CBA negotiations. It was just not the priority in the moment. I think what's interesting in this conversation, to your point, yes, I think players should have a choice. Always. I think players should always have a choice. What's interesting, though, is the whole like name and likeness thing as it pertains to college. Because let's be honest, like, Dee, would you have come out early? I don't know. It's like we were on ESPN all the time. We were getting all kinds of love and like popularity from it. So there was a gain there. And imagine you could have made money with the name and likeness at the same moment. Like maybe it's best of both worlds. What do you think?
I mean, why would women have a choice, right? Why would we have an option to do it? I think half the battle is having the choice to do it. And then you go on and you make the best decision. Like obviously a decision for Paige would be a lot different than a decision for someone else in her position. And once again, that's why or in women's basketball, you're kind of all lumped together. You all have to do it together. Where, I think on the men's side, obviously, individuality is a little bit more on the forefront. So I think the next step is to have that option. Will kids do it? Probably not. But you should have that option. I mean, it is a career path you're taking. And if you're the best at, your profession, you should be able to keep getting better. Not saying that they won't in college, but it's just a different level when you get to the pros.
Erica, you're up.
Thank you much. Hey, Sue. Hey, Diana. Good to see you. Sue, this question's probably for you, but Diana, obviously, if you want to weigh in, as if I could stop you. But I wanted to ask a little bit about, Sue, on Clubhouse, you were talking about some of the things that the WNBPA and Social Justice Council in particular might be focused on. And it seems as though one of those things has also been awareness about vaccines and vaccinations. 80+% of the league comes from communities of color, Black communities in particular. Vaccinations, historically speaking, in this country mean something very different to communities of color. Just wondering if you could maybe offer some insight, since there was also a lot of vaccination talk, or I should say testing talk, coming out of yesterday's NCAA tournament.
Oh, there was? I'm just kidding. Yeah, so I could just tell you what we've done, which is, our union, starting as far back as really when the vaccines started to come out, like literally come out and people could get them. So let's call it January. We've hosted, the union has hosted a series of Zoom calls where players have all been invited to hop on and talk directly with doctors, particularly doctors of color. And just, they've all kind of given their own presentations, and then it's been open, just open for anyone to ask questions. And I mean, it's been super helpful, super educational. And I think the beauty of it is, to your point, communities of color are impacted, disproportionately as far as COVID goes. And at the same time, have a lot of mistrust as far as vaccine goes. And I think if you can, break down some of those walls and barriers and just educate people and let them, make a educated choice, it's still their choice. They can still choose to get it or not. That's not the issue. You want to make sure everybody's as informed as possible. And these Zoom calls were great. There were some instances, to be honest, where for those that couldn't hop on, we were able to send the videos. And there were some people that, just felt really thankful, like, wow, there's a lot I didn't know. And like I said, it's all about education. I think we can all kind of agree that this past year and a half almost now, well, not quite, I guess year. Yeah, it's been a year. There's just so much out there. There's so much information at all times at our fingertips, and you never know what to believe. So to be able to talk directly to doctors was incredible.
Jeff Metcalf, you're up next. And then I've got one question, and we'll let Sue go after that.
Can you each talk about individually what being a 5-time Olympian will mean to you, and then also the opportunity to potentially do it together?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to put into words what being a 5-time Olympian would mean. I think, two things that come to mind is, first, it speaks to longevity. And I think there's something really special about that, because it's not easy to stay at the top of your game for this many years. But simultaneously, and I actually probably told this in reverse order. The first thing I should have said is, for me and maybe for us, like, there wasn't a WNBA growing up. Like, this was the end all be all for what a women's basketball player could do. It was like, yeah, you could if you go to college, you can go to the Final Four and then the Olympics. And that was really it. So for me growing up, this was always it. So to achieve it one time, it was like a dream come true. To have a chance to do it 5 times, it's continually, fulfilling that dream. But then back to the longevity part, I think it's also saying, like, that we were able to stay at the top of our game and win medals for our country and represent our country consistently for a long stretch. And there's something to be proud of that as well.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about going to a 5th Olympics, for some reason it takes me back to the last 4, and how I never thought after 1 it would be 2, and after 2 would be 3, and after 3 would be 4, and now we're talking about 20 years of USA basketball, the pressure, the commitment, the time you put into it. And you know, anything could happen, and you never know what path that'll take you. But just having the opportunity to be here in camp and looking forward a little bit to Tokyo, and hopefully it happens. Well, I think it's going to be a culmination of a lot of things, of all the hard work we put in, you know, individually, collectively. And, you know, we tell these guys all the time, you know, when you play for USA basketball, it's not about you. It's not how good you are. It's how good can you be playing with other great players. And I think I've learned so much from Sue. And I think, if anything, that's the one thing we've been able to do, is play with other great players and still be great teammates.
Before you go, I did have one question that came up. I think it's for both of you, as to who the best player is, period.
Diana.
It's a lot of good players.
That's what you say when you're the best player.
A lot of good players.
Is that it?
That's it, Sue.
Good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, I'll pay your dinner tonight. God. It's just starting to get expensive. Bye.
All right, everyone. I know you all know that Diana is a 4-time Olympic gold medalist, 4-time World Cup gold medalist. Both she and Sue actually stepped off the court after their final victory after their senior year and came to USA Basketball almost directly within days. So we appreciate them taking the time today. We're going to continue with this Q&A with Adam Betts.
Hey Diana, Adam Betts with the Journal-Inquirer of Manchester. Nice to meet you and hope all is well.
How's it going, Adam?
Not too bad. We asked Sue this, but what are your thoughts on Paige Bueckers this season? Obviously, she had a tremendous amount of hype, and I think she's lived up to every bit of it. Would you say?
I mean, if you watch the games, you know how good she is. And she has that it factor. She has this thing that comes to her very naturally in pressure situations and big moments. And that's when you know you have a really, really good player. When the stakes are the highest, when the pressure is the highest, and everyone knows you have to do it, and you actually get it done. And she's been so impressive on so many fronts. And, I mean, it's just fun to watch her play basketball.
And then if I could follow up briefly on that, does seeing a player like that make you want to continue your career to maybe one day play against her or with her?
Wow, that's a loaded question, huh? I would love to share the court with her. I don't know if I'd want to play against her, though. She's pretty good.
All right, thank you. Next up, we've got Jim Capel and then Alex Azzi.
Hi, Diana. You and Sue are two of my favorite athletes of all time.
Thank you.
And now you've played in you've won 4 Olympic gold medals. You're going to be in the 5th one. Do you think you'll be in go to a 6th one?
Wow. I mean, we talk about it all the time. And, I mean, realistically speaking, if we get a chance to go to Tokyo, I mean, this personally would probably be the last one. You know, there always comes a time where I think you really have to look at the situation, you know, for yourself and for USA Basketball. And, you know, if all goes well in Tokyo, I'll be happy.
Okay. Thank you.
Alex?
Hey, Diana, Alex Azzi with NBC Sports. Given that you're in the same city as the Final Four in tournament this week, curious if you could reflect back on 2002 when you were also in San Antonio for the Final Four and winning the title after that undefeated season. But also just in terms of some of the inequity that we've seen at the women's basketball tournament, what you see in terms of the players speaking up about that, and if some of the things that you've seen covered are similar to your own college experience, even though that was over a decade ago now.
You know, we're in a different age. These kids have a different platform. They're very outspoken. You know, with social media, things spread like wildfires. And I'm just really when I think about it, I'm so proud of these kids. Because when you're in a situation, when you're in college and you're at a certain school, you know, there is this hold that the NCAA and your school has on you that you don't even know. And you're 18, you're 19. Anything they say, you feel like is, you know, the law. So for these kids to be able to do this, it shows a lot of character. You know, and thinking back when I was in college, nor did we have the platform or really the access to say the things that are happening. And I mean, when you look at the weight room, it's just a complete joke. And from top to bottom, the NCAA is a joke when it comes to women's sports. We know that. And I know you're going to go and write about revenue and this and that. But the NCAA at this point has some things to change for the student athlete. And it's coming. It's slow, but you can feel it coming.
Thanks.
We've got Richard from Fox in Philadelphia.
Phoenix, Fox 10 Phoenix.
I'm sorry.
Hey, DT, good to see you again. First, an observation. I mean, you're such a pro. You make sure the background's set up just right before you start talking. I love that. It was really cool to see you and Sue at the same time, just because, you know, you guys have been so intertwined. You know, what's it like to be at this stage in your careers, you know, after, you know, overlapping UConn, you know, winning, you know, WNBA titles, European titles, all that, and just, you know, starting families, getting all that stuff. What's it been like to be on this journey with someone like that?
It's been amazing. And, you know, 20 years later, we get to this USA camp and we're still acting like 18, 16-year-olds. Like, we just generally like being around each other. We get to these camps, which, you know, it's a lot of pressure to play well and to practice. And then you can look over and, you know, you have one of your best friends there that always has your back. And, you know, obviously after 20 years, we have a lot of stories, a lot of inside jokes. So there's that sense of being very familiar with someone and coming into these situations that are a little bit nerve-wracking, no matter what, no matter if you've been here 100 times or it's your first time. And you get that sense of calm when you know you have, you know, your best friend there to have your back. So it's to put it in words wouldn't, you know, tell you the impact that she's had on my life in a lot of ways. And, you know, I'm just really thankful to be able to play basketball, the thing I love more than anything in the world, and to do with, you know, pretty much family. It means the world to me.
You know, I remember it was probably your rookie year. I saw you and her having, you know, dinner at Marley's downtown. And I remember seeing you guys and going, man, these are two of the baddest players on the planet, and hardly anybody knew. But you look at how the game has grown today, especially women's basketball. I watched that Iowa UConn game, and I don't know how many times I said, man, great pass, great shot. And this is a product of what you guys have kind of put a foundation for, because like Sue said, there was no WNBA when you guys were coming up. What's it like to see players like, you know, Paige Beckers and Creighton Clark and, you know, Hayley Mcdonald, and know that you guys had something in making those players who they are today?
Yeah, well, we talk about it all the time. And at this point in our careers, it's making sure when they're out of college, they have that feeling of prestige when they go to the WNBA. You know, I think, you know, after playing so many years in the WNBA, and we've seen the ups and the downs, there's this momentum right now, especially in women's sports and women's basketball. We want that momentum to carry on after you graduate from college. That shouldn't be the best years of your basketball career. When you get to the pros, that should be the best years of your basketball career. Not only on the court, monetarily, financially. So that's what we're striving with. And I think, you know, we've made steps to do that with the new CBA. And obviously, I think a newfound love for women's sports in the last month or so. Hopefully all those things carry on.
Thanks, Dee. Next up, we have Mike Anthony.
Hi, thank you. How's it going, Diana?
How you doing?
Good, thanks. I'm wondering if you've had a chance over the last few months to talk to Gino specifically about what it's meant for him to coach this particular team. Given all their experience, he seemed to have some early frustration that gave way to just like a a simple joy of coaching these kids.
Yeah, I talked to him earlier in the year before the season even started, and he knew he had a specialty. And I think when you have that many years of experience, I think there's certain triggers that, either let you know, okay, this team is going to be a team that is going to force its way into the Final Four. This team's going to get better. There's some things that we need to really work on. And I think when he saw, obviously the freshmen coming in, Westbrook coming back, Nelson and Williams, I think he just saw this mesh of players that were going to work really well together. And, I've never seen him have this much fun in a long time. I think he really enjoys coaching this team. I think there's a flair about this team, an edge about this team that he really loves. And you can tell he's engaged. You can tell that, he wants this team to play really, really good basketball. And I think, when they went on that 19-0 run, I think those are the kind of things that would give any coach confidence, obviously, but those are the special things that the past great teams would do. It would be a close game and then there's this separation, and they did that pretty quickly, especially when they weren't playing well. That's when you have a really good team.
Got time for 2, possibly 3 more questions depending on the timing. Carl Adamek and then Pepper Pursley. Carl, go ahead.
Hey, D, how you doing?
What's going on, Carl? You guys drafting a quarterback?
Wide receiver, I hope, or defensive help. But anyway, I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked Sue. From a personal perspective, what do you try to get accomplished at a camp like this, and has your approach changed?
I to say it hasn't changed would be lying. As a younger player, I would come in these camps and really just try to follow the older guys and see what and how to go about practices and what was expected. And I think now being the older ones and being the veterans, I think you're the one who kind of sets the tone and the tempo for practice. So I take that very serious. I think we don't have a lot of time together, so when we're on the court, it has to be focused. It has to be done with a sense of precision. And I think today you saw that a little bit, and I think every day we'll build on that a little bit more. But these are important training camps. It might not seem like you get a lot from it, but if you improved in one little area each day, that'll help us in the long run.
And our final question, because we do have Sylvia Fowles waiting outside, will go to Pepper Pursley.
Hi, DT. What's up? I'm good. How are you?
Hanging in there.
I've got 2 questions for you, and I asked you this, but being able to win 4 Olympic gold medals, what has been the most memorable Olympic game you've played in?
Oh, wow, the most memorable. I'm going to say my first gold medal game was pretty amazing. We played Australia in the finals, and, they had an amazing team. We had an amazing team, and it was a close game. I think it was like a 1-possession game going into the last 2-3 minutes, and then we pulled away and had, a couple plays go our way. And I just remember what an amazing feeling it was to be on that team. You'd always watch it on TV, and to stand on that podium and to get your gold medal. It was really, to me, probably the one moment that stands out.
That's funny because that's the exact same thing that Sue said. And then I've got to ask, what are your thoughts on last night's UConn-Baylor game?
Whoa, what a great game, huh? You just love watching 2 teams compete. Obviously, I have a little bit of a UConn bias. I loved the way Baylor played. They played hard. I mean, obviously, when Dede got hurt, that changed the whole complexion of the game. And, what Connecticut was able to do, in that third quarter going to the fourth quarter was pretty amazing. But was it a foul, Pepper? What do you think?
Oh, I actually unmuted her. Hold on.
Pepper,
raise your hand so I can unmute you.
Was it a foul?
Okay.
I thought it was. I thought it was 2 fouls, actually, but
Two fouls, not just one. I like that.
What do you think?
I mean, if I was the one shooting, I'd be pretty mad right now.
There you go. Thank you.
I bet.
All right. Thank you so much, Diana. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you. She's so cute.
And everybody, I apologize if I didn't get to everybody's questions. We just don't have a lot of time on these calls, but we're doing the best we can. And as mentioned, we have Sylvia Fowles coming up while she gets seated. Just as a reminder, she's a 3-time Olympic gold medalist, 2010 World Cup gold medalist. She was at 4 Final Fours, but I don't believe any of them were
unsuccessful.
In San Antonio. No, I was just going to say they weren't in San Antonio. And she is either in the process of completing or has recently completed her degree in mortuary science, which I find fascinating. So we'll go ahead and take the first question from Howard Mcdonald.
Hey, Sil, great to chat with you as always.
Thank you.
I just would love to get your thoughts about the fit of your new teammates. You know, obviously it's going to be a dramatically different feeling for this team coming up. What you see, how you feel like you fit in with, you know, what is a crowded front court, obviously, but one in which everyone seems to have a particular skill set.
I'm excited about the new teammates that I have, only because I feel like it makes my job a whole lot easier. And so to have a lot of guards around you that can actually shoot kind of makes my job a tad bit easier, but it also gives me the option to either dominate or pass. And so I feel like we have that pick your poison option this year.
Thanks, Phil.
And Erica Ayala, you're up next.
Thank you much. Hey, Sil. Good to see you. I'm gonna keep off of the Zoom for today, but I wanted to ask you. I asked Sue Bird a little bit about this, but I know there's been conversations about what would be next for the players, particularly in the WNBA, and talking about the Social Justice Council, and it has been reported that that focus now is on vaccination and vaccination education, and I'm just wondering if you could weigh in on that and what some of those conversations have yielded for you, and how you feel compelled to share that information with your community.
It's kind of a sticky situation with me because I'm still unsure about the vaccine for myself for personal reasons. And a lot of that just weigh in on me wanting to have kids in the future and what's the long-term effects of that. So I'm kind of in the middle of wanting to vaccinate, but we have been getting good information from our leaders like Sue, Neka, Terry, and all of them on the good things, the positive things about this vaccine. So just trying to weigh out my options at this point, but definitely the next swing is to making sure we educate people as much as possible, but at the same time, trying to weigh out the options as well.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I mean, I talked to Sue again. That's very real for communities of color and Black communities. But that being said, what do you think will be the drive for the WNBA, or have you had those conversations yet on what that is to present that information to, in your case, the Minnesota market?
We're getting much information as much as possible right now. A lot of things are still up in the air. I don't think we came to one conclusion as of yet, but it's still a lot of talk about what's the next step for the WNBA as a whole. I know a lot of the young women has been vaccinated as far as now. And so I think you have a lot of people who's willing to get vaccinated, but at the same time, you also have a lot of ones who still iffy about it. So just trying to make sure everybody's on the same page.
All right. Next up, Charles Holman from Minnesota.
Hello, Sylvia. How you doing?
Hey, how are you?
Johnell and his daughter said hello.
Tell her I say hi. We have to meet.
Yeah. A couple questions. Speak on your finishing your studies in mortuary science. how you feel about that and what moving forward to that. And then a basketball question. Sue was asked about team chemistry on how important that is on the USA team. If you can talk about those two things, and then anything else you want to talk about, that's great.
School-wise, right now I'm just prepping for national boards, which I'm trying to take after the season so it don't be a hassle throughout the season because the season is packed as is. So that's one less thing that I have to worry about. And to touch bases on Sue and the team chemistry, I think that's extremely important, especially for us because we don't have a lot of time to prepare and get together. So like moments like these makes a difference when we can just go out there and making sure we locked in and paying attention. But it's not hard when you're on a team like this because everybody pretty much do their job and everybody wants to do good. And then our common goal is just to win. So we try to get that down packed early as possible and make sure we're playing good basketball.
Good to see you. Hope we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you.
Doug Feiberg up next.
Sil, good to see you, my friend.
Dougie.
So I can't believe you've been doing this for over a decade. I think 2008 or so is first time I remember covering the Olympics with you there and such. But my question is, what's the drive to keep on going, to want to keep on doing this and be part of this program? That it seems a lot of women, I mean, you, Sue, Diana, Cash before that, are part of this program for more than just one Olympic run. Like you want to be for a long time, or as long as you possibly can.
You want to go as long as you can, but also too is a challenge within itself because we are getting older, we are steps slower, and so having to keep up with the younger generation is a challenge within itself. But I say try to go as long as I can, as much as my body tells me that I can. But this is fun. This is the time that you work up to get to, and I just want to hold on to these moments as long as possible and play with as many as great players as much as possible.
Thanks, my friend.
And sorry, I'm going out of order. Cindy Smith from Her Hoop Stats.
Hello, Sylvia. Can you talk a little bit about how that transition works, where you're in the middle of the WNBA season and then all of a sudden you're playing with people you're playing against and it's a whole different team, how you make that transition work?
I think the transition is somewhat easy, only because we've been doing this for so long. And once you put on that USA jersey or when you put USA across your chest, your ego kind of get put to the side. So you're going from competing against each other to competing with each other. And I think it's just all about ego check and making sure we have one common goal, and that's to win and have fun.
Thank you.
Scott with the next.
Yes. Hello, Sylvia.
Hello.
Can you hear?
Yes.
There's so much talk when we interview Diana and Sue about their legacies. What do you think is your legacy, and how is it separate from theirs?
Besides the fact that they have a lot of more years under their belt, I don't quite think about my legacy too often. It's still kind of a weird transition to try to think about, only because I feel like I still have a good couple more years under my belt to compete. So I guess once I get close to wanting to wind down, that's something that'll be at the forefront. But up until now, I really don't think about legacy.
Next, we have Alex from NBC Sports.
Hey, Sylvia. Curious about if the team has any plans with the NCAA tournament also in San Antonio to, I don't know, like make signs or show support, or if there's anything that you're doing for the women that are playing there. I'm sure COVID protocols make it tough to do anything in person.
As of yet, I haven't heard anything. The only thing we do to support is making sure we're watching as much as possible. And that's the only thing from now that I've know of.
And then just one follow-up on that, I think something about your team going for a 7th straight gold in Tokyo this summer, but it's kind of cool to look back and connect the generations, right? Of even, Sue and Diana playing with Dawn and Dawn now coaching. And I'm curious, just like, if you feel that like longevity of the program in terms of current teammates, past teammates, future teammates.
For sure. Diana and Sue was in this thing when I first started off, and so them having the opportunity to pass off the torch whenever they're ready to settle down means a lot. And like you mentioned, they played with Dawn, and Dawn is now the head coach. I played with Katie Smith in 2008, and she's now my assistant coach in Minnesota. So it's cool to have that transition of younger, older players and making sure we keep this legacy going and making sure they understand why we've been so successful for so long.
Thanks so much.
Do we have any additional questions for Sylvia? If so, please raise your hand. And it looks like no. Sylvia, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it. And oh wait, sorry, we have I spoke too soon. Jeff Wald.
Hi, Sylvia. Jeff with Fox 9 in Minneapolis. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Good. I was going to ask you about, after having won 3 golds, why would you come back? But since you already kind of covered that, I noticed you're wearing a T-shirt that says USA on it. What does having those 3 letters across your chest mean to you? And with that, how do you kind of translate that message to some of the other maybe younger players on the team who maybe either haven't experienced it or haven't had that experience as much as you have?
USA means you working with the best of the best. Hands down, by far, you're working with the best elite athletes there is. And to have that opportunity to go out and compete with these women means everything. Like I said before, it's about ego check, making sure you check your ego once you put this across your chest, but also understanding that this is an honor. It's not just given, and you have to work for it. And like I said before, you have to go out there and you have to put in the work to be able to represent your team. And so that just keeps me motivated, making sure that I can go out and compete with the best of the best, but at the same time, not losing sight of what's ahead of us.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We do have time for one more question. If there's anybody that has something final to ask Sylvia. If not, we have Diamond Deshields waiting outside. So Sylvia, thank you very much. And bring on Diamond. So we've got 2 hands raised pretty quickly. So we'll start with Pepper and go to Erica once we get Diamond settled.
I doubt it.
Good afternoon, Diamond. Everybody's knowledge, Diamond's been playing for USA Basketball since 2010. So for 11 years, she's been in the USA Basketball family, won 6 gold medals, including the 2019 AmeriCup, where she was named to the all-tournament team. So we'll go ahead and start the questions today for Diamond with Pepper Pursley.
Hi, Diamond. Nice to talk with you again. Firstly, just how are you doing? How does it feel to be back out there?
I'm doing good. It's always fun to be here. You get to put USA on your chest and be here with all your friends and opponents. Just great competition all around. It's always a good time.
And as one of the newer members of USA Basketball, what has been some of the advice you've received from veterans, if any?
Honestly, just the importance of taking care of my body. Physically, lifting, making sure I'm staying in shape, but also mentally. It's a pretty heavy load once you start to compete in the national team pool. Just because, oftentimes when there are breaks in the off season, we're working. And so, that can take a toll on you over time. So just mainly just like taking care of yourself, and making sure that you're healthy.
Thank you.
Erica?
Thank you. Diamond, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your experience coming out of college before, your eligibility was up. It's been a conversation we've already had today. And I wonder specifically if you think that if the WNBA were to institute a one and done, that immediately precludes WNBA players from then eventually going on to get their education. I'm just curious your thoughts on that. And if you feel that that's something that women in particular are cajoled into as why they shouldn't leave college before they finish.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that, we're cajoled into, as you would say, into getting your degree. But you can't minimize the importance of the degree, and what that does for you post-college. Even though I left early, I made sure that I had my degree first and that I was able to take that with me into the next chapter of my life. Hopefully, the league will be in a place where, if players can have the choice to leave early or be a one and done player, that hopefully the league can be in a place where financially, that'll be worth it. Right now it's not. And so, it's very important, I think, still to get your degree. So, I think that as time progresses and as we start to see the game continue to grow, maybe that one and done might be possible. You'll start to see more players leaving early. I mean, there certainly are players who are capable of playing at the professional level right now, even though they're not seniors. So we'll see.
Thanks, Diamond.
Doug, you're up.
Hey, Diamond, Doug Feiberg, the AP. Good to see you. Just to piggyback off that for a second, if I heard correctly or understood what you're saying, you probably would not have left early if you were given that choice when you were younger in college because of the finances of the WNBA, that it wouldn't have been worth it financially to go pro right away?
I think my situation might have been a little bit different, honestly. If I would have had the choice, I mean, it's hard to say. There's certain players who have a different amount of opportunities, just leaving school early or just this or given the amount of publicity that they've gotten in college. Like after my freshman year, I was in a pretty good place. I don't see why I couldn't have left early and went and got a good job overseas and, been making decent money. So, it's hard to say if I would have left early or not, but it probably would have been nice to have an option, to be honest.
And a USA question. I mean, Caroline said that you've played obviously USA basketball for many years, not national team, but younger. What was it like the first time you put on that USA jersey?
Like back in 2010?
Yeah, that old days when you first got that jersey on.
Honestly, I kind of felt like a fraud. I kind of felt like I stuck out. Like I'd heard about all these other players, everyone else that was there. I'd heard about them. And to me, I was like still nobody. So, when I first put on the uniform, I was just like, I don't belong here at all. But obviously there was a reason why I'd been invited. And so, I ended up just going out there and just being myself.
Thanks, Diamond.
Edwin Garcia with Sky in the Chai.
Hi, Diamond. My question is, how do you balance being a part of the team and establishing the chemistry and culture of this Olympic squad while also understanding that all of you are competing for roster spots and kind of navigating the teamwork along with the competition on the team?
Well, I mean, that's just it, right? Like, it's about finding the role that you'll play on the team. USA basketball has a lot of success doing things a certain way. And so, when I think about perimeter players specifically, I think about defense first, just being long, being athletic, being disruptive as a defender, and then just knocking down open shots. It's not really me having to go out there and do too much. If you understand what role you have on the team, you know, I feel like my role would be to defend, to be an athlete, and to hit open jumpers. Like, I don't have to do too much here. You know, you're playing around Diana, you know, Syl, you got Sue, you got Stewie, you got, you know, my job here is easy. I'm like, cool.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Howard, you're up next.
Thanks. And Diamond, great to chat with you as always. It's obviously great to see you back in the mix and playing ball. And I'm wondering, you know, if you could just take me through some of the challenges of last year. It was a year unlike any other for you, for everyone, really. Just what that process has been like and how you've emotionally reconnected to the game of basketball.
Yeah, I mean, like, as we all know, COVID took a pretty heavy hit on everybody. So speaking to the challenges, you know, it was really just a lot of that, like a lot of quarantines, a lot of protocols, a lot of testing, like all of that was really, really challenging. And you're right. I mean, you do kind of disconnect a little bit, right? Like, especially in the bubble, like you use basketball as an escape. But when we were in the bubble, I found that like we were trying to escape basketball some days because we were just surrounded by it all day, every day. And so, you know, just reconnecting to it really came, honestly, when we got Candace in free agency, and then I started looking to, you know, to this season coming up. And obviously with these camps, you know, we're getting closer to making a selection for the national team. And so, you know, you got to be locked in if you want to be a part of something like that and compete for a championship. So that's all it really took for me.
And I guess just the follow up to that, was there kind of a moment? I mean, you're talking about you signed Candace and, you know, you obviously have national team coming up. But I think one of the things that separates your game is people see the joy you play with. And so I'm wondering for you, if there was a moment on the practice court, whether there's a moment just coming back to USA basketball where you felt that joy that, you know, you so often have exuded throughout your career.
Honestly, ever since the start of 2020, you know, to now, I have joy every time I get to play basketball. I think that the year really put a lot into perspective for me. And so just being able to get up and walk into a gym and tie my shoes and play the game of basketball is one of the most fulfilling things that I can do and that I get to do. And I'm really grateful to have the opportunity just to play basketball, honestly. Like, I just love to play basketball.
Rachel Thompson with NBC, you're up next.
Hey, Diamond, thanks so much for doing this. Some of the women on this team have talked about watching the U.S. women in 1996, including Dawn. So just was curious if you have memories growing up of watching some of the older members on this team and what made you want to be part of it someday. You know, unfortunately, I don't have too many memories. I mean, 96, I was 1. So, you know, I wasn't like really watching at that age. You know, the national teams that I really watched and paid attention to is really like from the past 2 or 3 Olympics, specifically like watching Maya, watching Sue, even Cappy, man. Like, I love seeing Cappy play because Cappy is like, you know, she's got that swag about her. So just to see her play for USA, that was really dope for me. Awesome. Thank you.
All right, Carolyn, that's me, right? I'm good.
Yep.
Okay,
Yes, sorry,
thanks.
I had muted myself. I apologize.
That's all good. Thank you so much. Diamond, I wanted to come back and ask you, you talked about Cappy's swag. We see that the WNBA is going to have some alternate jerseys, but the Chicago one hasn't been unleashed yet. What do you expect? I'm not going to tell you to give us anything, but what would you expect to see from or what should we expect to see, I should say, from that Chicago design that you feel will really encapture what the Chicago Sky is all about?
I mean, I don't know if I could speak to that without giving too much away, but I will say
in my personal opinions, our uniforms are top 3 for sure. So y'all can be the judge.
All right, we're gonna have to get to Dick's Sporting Goods and find it.
They gotta save something, save some sort of surprise. They out here just leaking everything. Like,
All right, do we have any more questions for Diamond Deshields? We do. Sorry. Wilson Tarpa, Jr.?
Yes, it's Tarpe Jr. But Diamond, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I just had one quick question for. I know you kind of glanced over it a little bit talking about Candace joining you. Just kind of want to go back to that. Your initial thoughts on Candace Parker deciding to, sign with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I was just happy. Chicago is not really a destination location for free agents. It's been quite the opposite. Chicago, the franchise has lost, quite a few players, over the course of, a pretty short span. And it's just nice to be a place where someone like Candace wants to, play. It's just nice to be a place where, you've got a champion, you've got a gold medalist, somebody with the rap sheet that she has, to say like, no, like, this is where I want to be. It says a lot about the way we've turned things around in Chicago, the way that James has implemented the culture there, and and what we've done as players to make that an ideal location for someone like Candace. So I was just excited, man.
Thank you.
And again, if you've got questions, raise your hand. Otherwise, we are about at our time. So Diamond, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us. And if anybody has any questions or wasn't able to record and needs a link to